Okay guys, we're going to talk about subtraction of integers here. So as we're looking, we start out with a -6. So we start at -6. So what we're going to do is on that -6, we're going to draw a line there. If we're subtracting -3, we've talked about that if you are taking away and if we have a negative number, like -3, that's going to be cold. If we were talking about +3, that would be heat. If you're taking away cold, the temperature gets higher. The temperature goes up. So if we're taking away, if we were adding -3, we'd be adding cold, which means we'd go this way. But we're not adding 3, we're taking away 3. So since we're taking away -3, we're going to go this way, 1, 2, 3. So we wind up, we're going to write here that we're taking away -3, which means we wind up on -3. So -6 minus -3 is -3. Okay, so now if we have 5 and we're going to subtract -6, that means we start at 5, and if we subtract -6, we're taking away cold. So we're going to go this way 6, which means we're going to subtract -6, which means we wind up on 11. So 5 minus -6 equals +11. Now remember, if we were adding -6, we would go this way. We would go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we go that way if we were adding -6. And we would wind up in -1. But we're subtracting -6, so we have to go the opposite direction. We have to go to the right. That's it. Now this is a hard subject. This is a hard concept for most people to understand. So you just have to practice it, write it down, make sure you're writing these things in your learning journal, and practice it to get used to the pattern. Remember, you're taking away cold. When you take away cold, you get warmer. So that means you're going up. So we have 7 minus -2. That means we're going to be at the 7, because we start at the 7. We're going to take away cold. So we're going to take away cold, which means it's going to get warmer. So we're going to go up 2, which means we're going to wind up on 9. So we'd write minus -2 over here, so that we have the directional. Remember, what I'm looking for is that you first know where you started, that you give me a directional arrow telling me what we're moving and what the operation is, and that you end on the 9 and you tell me where we ended. When we look at -7 minus 3, well, if I have -7, and if I have -7, and I'm going to subtract 3. Well, that means I'm taking away heat. I'm taking away +3. So this would be written the same as -7 minus +3. And so if I'm doing that, then if I'm taking away heat, the temperature's going down, which means I'd be going down 1, 2, 3. Which means I'd be at -10. So -7 minus 3 is -10. Now as we get here, my hope is that you're starting to see a pattern with what we're going to compare next with addition and subtraction, and you're going to understand a better rule that will help you see this quicker, so you could turn everything into addition. Now we have -5 minus -7. Well, that means what we're going to do is we're going to start at -5. And if we're taking away cold, because it's a negative, then the temperature's going up. So if we're taking away -7, then we're going to go up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to go up here, and we lined up. We're taking away -7, which means we wind up on +2. Okay. Now, if we were adding -7, we would have gone down, because we would have been adding cold, and we would have gone down. So this is what it would be to go add -7. But we were subtracting -7. Now, -8, on problem number 8, we start at -2, and we're going to subtract -9. So we're going to take cold. So if we're taking cold, we're going to go up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So when we're looking at that, then what that means is we started at -2, and we draw an upward arrow to show that we're going up. We write that we're going to take away -9. This is how we're showing our work. We put an arrow so I can see your directional point, and you wind up at 7. So -2 minus -9 equals 7. Now, if you're struggling with this, you're probably not alone. So you want to ask some questions, because this is probably the hardest part of our unit in integers. So it's okay to struggle. Ask questions. Come prepared to ask questions. So if you were having 0 minus -3, that means we start at 0, and we're taking away 3 negatives. We're taking away cold. So if we start at 0, and if we're taking away cold, we're going to the right 3. So 0 minus -3 would equal 3. So you'd write here, make sure that for the test, you want to make sure you're showing you started at 0, you have a directional arrow going this way, you're writing your math, that you're subtracting -3, and that you wound up on 3, so you circle the 3. And you'd say that 0 minus -3 equals +3. Now, one way to look at this is to say, well, if we looked and said these are our negatives and these are our positives, if we had 0 and we took 3 negatives away. Now, we generally use the number line, but if we were to look and say, well, I have 0, which could be, I could have 4 positives and 4 negatives, and that would give me 0. And if I take 3 negatives away, so if I were to take these 3 negatives away, this would still be 0, but notice what I'd have. I'd have 3 positives. So 0, take away 3 negatives, gives me 3 positives, which is where I wind up. I wind up on +3. That's one way to look at it, but I don't use that anymore because the number line seems to be more effective. But there's lots of, this is called the 2-color counter method, and you can find lots of videos on how to use 2-color counters, and if that helps you more, well, then that helps you, but make sure you can draw it on a number line. So again, if you're following this, then you could pull this PDF up. You could take your own notes on your own PDF while you're watching the video, put this in your learning journal. You could just take these and write down your own notes, pause the video, write these things down, because on Canvas, if you're in my class, you can access Canvas, pull this PDF of this lesson up. This is 3.3, Subtracting Integers. Okay, so again, we look, and we're starting at the 5. So that means we're going to start here, and then we're going to subtract negative 7. When we subtract negative 7, then that means we're going to go to the right, because if we're taking away cold, we're doing the same thing as adding heat. So we're going to go this way 7. And we actually don't see enough of it on the number line. We'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which means we wind up on positive 12. So we're subtracting negative 7, and you're going to get to 12. So this equals positive 12. So remember, the things I'm looking for, I'm going to look, did you give me a starting point? I'm going to look, did you give me a directional arrow? Did you tell me what operation you were doing? Subtracting negative 7. And did you circle your endpoint? And tell me where you ended. For showing your work, those are the steps that I'm looking for. Make sure you're being careful on the test to show that work. The hoop-de-hoops here that you're doing here, those aren't part of the work. I want to see a straight line like this right here. I want to see that straight line with a directional arrow. So again, if I'm looking at this and I'm looking and saying, well, I have 10, I'm starting with 10. So I start at the 10, and I'm going to subtract 7. So this is the same thing as subtracting positive 7. So I'm taking away heat. So if I'm going to take away heat, my temperature is going to go down. So I'm going to be here, and I'm going to go to the left. So I'm going to subtract 7, which means I'm going to go here, and I'm going to land at the 3. So 10 minus 7 is 3. Now, you knew that before. Most of you could do 10 minus 7 before you walked into my class. But notice that when we subtract a positive, we're going to the left. We're always going to the left when we subtract a positive. Okay. So again, we are starting at 8. So we draw a line here. We're going to subtract positive 12. So this is the same thing as subtracting positive 12. That's what that symbol means. And if we're subtracting heat, which the positive would be heat, then it's getting colder. So we're going to go to the left. So we're going to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we draw a directional arrow. And we wound up at negative 4. So 8 minus 12 equals negative 12. Notice again, when we're taking away heat, when we're subtracting a positive, we go to the left. Okay, so if we go and we look at a number line as a vertical number line, if we start at 6, and we subtract 12 positives, means we're going to go down. So we're subtracting 12, means we're going to have 6 before we get to 0, and then we're going to have 6 more. We're going to be at negative 6. So we have a directional arrow. We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got down to negative 6. So 6 minus 12 equals negative 6. If we were at negative 20, and we subtracted positive 15, again, we're taking away heat. So it's going to get colder. So we are going to go down, and we're going to have subtract positive 15, which is going to leave us at negative 0 is all the way up here, even further up there. So we're going to be at negative 35. If we have negative 22, and we're going to subtract positive 26, When we subtract a positive, when we're taking away heat, it's getting colder. So we're going to go down, negative 26, which again, 0 is way up here somewhere. So we're not going to 0, we're getting colder, we're getting more negative. So when we subtract 26 positives, it's getting more negative. So we're going to be at negative 48. Now some of you might be noticing that 22 and 26 have a relationship with 48. We can use 22 and 46 to get to 48. So hopefully you're starting to create some rules in your own mind as you're going through these experiences. As you're going through these number lines, pretty soon you won't need the number line anymore. So as you notice, we've been talking about just what happens if you're subtracting. But I'm hoping that you're starting to realize, and that through the lab that we did, you're starting to understand a rule that's available right here. That if we look, we get the same result when we add a negative 7 than when we subtract a positive 7. So it's easier sometimes to write it out as an addition statement. So look at that. That means we would have 6 plus negative 12. On B, we would have negative 20 plus negative 15. And on C, you'd have negative 22 plus negative 26. That should help us a little bit with our relationship. Matter of fact, if you look at it a little bit, it kind of looks like it right there, there, and there. Just food for thought. When we get done with the lab, you should create a rule. I'll show you what 2 eyes and a nose means. And that'll be a rule that'll help you. But right now, we're trying to help you understand what math you're doing, what it is, and the direction it goes on a number line. So you always have something to fall back on. If you can draw it on a number line, you can visualize the math. And that's probably one of the most important things you're going to be able to do, is to visualize the math. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Look forward to your comments. If there's anything in here you see as a repetitive speech problem or something with the writing or anything that I can do to improve this video for you so it's a more useful tool in your hands, please feel free to email me, let me know what I can do to make it a better video. Okay, have a good day.